Good evening. Welcome in daily UPSC Editorial program. A new sense of organization that is dominating the Hindu. The old understanding that cities are considered to be centers of enlightenment, workplace, and habitat is being challenged. Also bringing into focus the role of the state. Tikender Singh Panwar is former deputy mayor Shimla and member Kerala Urban Commission. There have been two events in the media glare in the last 9 months in India, namely the inauguration of two very important institutions: the new Parliament building, which is a political institution, and the Ram Temple, a religious institution, which raised pertinent issues. Both of these were inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India. Does this mean that the elected representative of the people can comfortably take over both the roles of democracy and worship? Will our future cities be driven by religious as the core and not work industry or modernism, which has been an essential feature of the last 7 decades of urbanization? It is estimated that around 85,000 crore will be spent in infrastructure building in Ayodhya. Will religious cities be the new paradigm of urban development in India? Colonial versus new cities. The cities and urban development in the last two centuries draw a rural to urban migration premise for sustaining industrialization. Metros are colonial cities according to the current discourse, and new cities as the Ayodhya, Kashi, and Pushkar must be built. The colonial cities were meant for the transport of goods, taxation, and then sending them by ship. Cities also bring in elements of modernism, not just in architecture but also in the entire gamut of culture, literature, human behavior, and the like. There are anecdotes of how this modernist feature was embedded in the development model of the Indian city. Innovative design and modernist feature brought in by Corbusier and the influence of Habib Rahman, who was brought in by Jawaharlal Nehru to design some of the important buildings in the national capital, laid an emphasis on modern technology and mass production techniques and material to design and manufacture high quality and cheap goods that are accessible to many. Likewise, almost all modern towns were developed with spaces for theatre, culture, art, and recreation. This was primarily the driving feature in modern cities. The building of new towns met several needs, from providing jobs and homes for refugees and absorbing excess population from the older urban areas to generating economic development in the local region and serving as symbols of the new modern India that was emerging, though not completely ideal and commensurate to the needs, be quite inclusive in design and what was built. In the current phase, the new sense of urbanization is dominating, and the old understanding not cities are considered to be center of enlightenment, workplace, and habitat is being challenged. Cities should not just be center of workplaces but also centers of yatras, pilgrimage, and so on. Thus, we find big corporates also landing in the small towns such as Ayodhya and investing heavily in its infrastructure. Thus, the new conundrum in India is for a new form of urbanization, a new revivalism of the faith, where the cities and towns and where the system should be aligned to the religion of the majority and not separate from it. Investments and random modules. The post-colonial period saw the emergence of new towns, and some of them were industrial as well as such as Bhilai, Rourkela, and Chandigarh, to name a few. Still, the metros attach the largest numbers of people and investment. We know from the ranking of urban centers that if one goes by metro classification of the highest in population and wealth generation, colonial cities emerged in the list. After that, the other urban centers are regional in character. There is an effort to try and elevate the regional pilgrimage city to that of a colonial city. The heavy investment in the urban infrastructure of Ayodhya is a pioneer, is a pointer. It is good to spend resources in any regional city, be it for production or tourism or otherwise. However, since there is no apparent plan to direct such expenditure according to a justifiable plan of investment in regional cities across India, one wonders what the justification of spending on random modules in a haphazard way. The new Central Vista, the Sardar Patel statue, the high-speed bullet train project between Ahmedabad and Mumbai, the temple in Ayodhya. What do we understand from this enormous expenditure? It seems to indicate that the goal of the Indian government is to be a modern nation sitting on an ancient seat, and to try to reverse the separation of religions from politics, to signal religion to be a social phenomenon rather than a private one. The role of the state and social good. This draws one's attention to one of the moot points, and that is to understand that the role of the state is in building cities and creating investments. We know that the accumulation of capital and the generation of surplus in a democratic society should be directed towards social good and not for religious good, as we have experienced in the early centuries of Hindu revivalism. What does social good mean? In simple terms, it means that the surplus generated must be distributed to build modern institutions, education, health, social infrastructure, particularly in a society that screams for social sector investments. The World Bank estimates that India will need to invest 840 billion dollar over the next 15 years for urban infrastructure and not for religious good. What is exactly what we are doing now? This revivalism is based on an acute form of centralization of finances and a mm, ghettoization of urban spaces on a religious basis. An answer to this is decentralization, democratization, and a more dynamic coexistence of citizens with access to equal rights and obligation. Thank you.